Infiniti's QX60 midsize luxury crossover is one of the hardest working vehicles in this competitive segment. And in today's DM test drive, we're going to go see why. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. Today we're going to take a look around and go drive Infiniti's QX60. In this video we're going to do a little bit of a walk around, check out the inside, more importantly go out on the DM test loop and talk about what makes this crossover better than some of its rivals, better than the previous QX60, and maybe where it needs to work a little bit harder to be up in the top of the class. This is the autograph version of the QX60, meaning it's top dog, and it's featured here in warm titanium color. I would simply call it gold, but warm titanium sure sounds more interesting. Not my preferred color of the car. I've seen it in a dark blue, and I think it's absolutely beautiful in that color. I could go with a little bit less aggressive styling. I don't know why you need your three-row luxury crossover to be so grrr and masculine. But either way, I do admit it does look good. And the good looks continue on inside as well, as we're going to see here soon. But let me pop this hatch open and show you all where some of the functionality is had in the QX60. One thing I do like about it is not only do you get a little bit of extra trunk space here with the third row up, but you have some under trunk as well. And for those of you who've ever had some sort of under trunk compartment, you know how useful this can be for putting things like blankets and jumper cables, just things that you might not use every day but you want to have available. Then you still have the rest of this space for maybe strollers or grocery bags or other sort of things. And you can lift these seats back up using a power button, which I think is pretty nice. You also have grocery bag hooks. I find that very valuable because things like to slide around in here. And then with these seats all the way up and back, even very much reclined here, you can see you still have a decent amount of room, and you don't always get that in mid-size crossovers with a third row. Opening up into the second row here, you do see these beautiful quilted leather seats with the autograph right here in them. This top level trim, you get captain's chairs, which are pretty nice, but let's hop back into the third row first. Look how easy that is. Just click of that button and you're into the back. Pretty tight back here for an adult. I'm 5'10", and you can see once I lock this chair back, at least in the fully back position, it is tight. I don't have a bunch of headroom. My head is hitting the top when I sit straight up. But I could be back here for a small amount of time, or this seat could actually be slid forward and I'd have quite a bit more room. Or honestly, if you're just putting kids back here, it's really not going to be a big deal. And those kids will be treated to cup holders, and USB-A port there, USB port over there as well, a little bit of lights, and very importantly, some air vents. Again, super easy to release that captain's chair. If you've seen some of our other videos with three-row SUVs, you know it can be much more cumbersome to get in and out of them, especially ones with this tighter size. You can see how much you slide the second row. And then being back here, this is a really nice place to be, whether adult, child, anything. You got these sunshades, they're very easy to get up and place in there. You got handles, air vents, Bose Performance Series speaker grill, a nice center console area with a deep center well, some cup holders, second zone climate control there, some more power ports. Very functional place to be, and would have plenty of room for either car seats or humans. Then into the throne, driver's seat. Get it started up so I can get a little bit of air flowing on me, and we'll also get this sunroof open, add a little bit of extra air, or extra light. You can see you do have the panoramic roof. A lot of people are going to appreciate that in this class. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate how beautiful this interior is too. Looking at this quilted leather up here on the dash, Chris Brower pointed out that he really liked that. Some stitching up there as well, although this stitching doesn't appear to be leather. It appears to just be plastic with some stitching in it. This is all leather, and speaking of leather, this is one of the nicest feeling steering wheels I've held in a really long time. It's such a smooth leather. I honestly really like it. And I've got a good amount of experience with it because we actually spent about 15 hours with this car. Not only did I do the highway fuel economy test, which the result of which you can see in the description. But we took this vehicle from Ann Arbor, Michigan, all the way out to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin and back, both Chris and I, and really got to experience it both from the driver's seat and the passenger seat. So we do have a few qualms from that trip. No car is perfect, but overall it was a nice place to be. Plenty of room for our junk. Got some wireless device charging or a place to put wallet there. I like door pocket right here that doesn't go all the way through, so you can stick something like keys or wallet there. Water bottle fit in the door. Pretty large center console with ability for cables and hats, all sorts of things in there, and of course a glove box to use. Let's get on the road a little bit and I'll talk some more about the car. Not the most advanced infotainment system, but it is functional, and admittedly when we were in the car, we just had Apple CarPlay going the entire time, had no issues with it. So that's how a lot of people are going to interface with their car. But if you do want to use the standard navigation, it works pretty well. Good responsiveness. And you can go home. Very Nissan-ish infotainment kind of layout and setup, but it is decently intuitive, I should say. And you kind of got a split screen effect going. You do have a little center rotary knob area too. It's not quite as comprehensive as something like the knob you get in BMW, but I do appreciate having the ability to control the screen from here rather than having to reach all the way up and touch that, because then you're getting fingerprints all over the screen and kind of taking your attention away from the road a little bit more. And if you could just put your hand down here and sort of squirm over to where you want to go. Looking down at the gauge cluster, the information center, whatever you want to call it, there are actually two different layouts to it. This is kind of more of an advanced, data-heavy display that I have, but if I go into the settings, change meter view, now you've got a little bit more of a traditional 2-gauge with information in the center layout. And I know some people have commented that they like seeing the tachometer, so I'll have that up for them. And tachometer is important for this car because it's actually rocking a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 engine, whereas more and more cars of this class are going to smaller turbocharged motors. For example, we're kind of comparing this casually against the Genesis GV80, and that one you got to deal with either a 2.5 liter turbo or a 3.5 liter turbo. And yeah, obviously the 3.5 liter makes a lot more power and feels a little gutsier, but the 2.5 liter, while it's not a bad powertrain, doesn't feel as natural as this 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6. And not only that, this thing got pretty darn good mileage on the highway. It's a large vehicle, and yet we got around 27, 28 cruising at high speeds with two people in the car. And on our highway fuel economy test, I can't remember the exact number, but I want to say it was 27 or 28 miles per gallon as well. And that's above EPA, and that's pretty darn good for an all-wheel drive kitted out luxury crossover like this. And not only that, you don't have to put premium fuel in this car. It's recommended for maximum performance, but trust me, if you're just driving along on the highway, especially with gas prices like they are right now, just put regular in this car and it's going to run totally fine all day. And it totally did. We did all of our trip and our testing on regular fuel. So that's another big perk with going with something like this rather than a higher stressed turbocharged engine. You can see me driving it around. It gets up to speed totally fine. Infiniti put a 9-speed automatic transmission in here as opposed to the CVT in the previous generation QX60, and it makes for just a more natural driving experience. The CVT was working hard in this car, but often have to rev out. And don't get me wrong, I'm not totally against continuously variable transmissions. I think they have their place, but in a larger, heavier luxury vehicle like this, I do like just having a traditional standard automatic transmission. And you can technically put this car up into sport mode, get on it, and listen to that V6 engine run just about to its 6,500 RPM red line. It's not a sporty car, guys. Don't be fooling yourself. Yeah, you can drive it a little spiritedly and have fun with the paddle shifters and listen to that engine, but this isn't a BMW, it's not an M car, it's not an AMG. Just treat it for what it is. It's warm titanium, gosh darn it. Keep it in auto mode and just kind of enjoy the nice ride, even on these larger wheels going over the rough ride section here. Taking these bumps really well. up to speed and then do a little brake test. Yeah, it's not a speed demon, it's not a rocket ship, but it's decently satisfying to drive. And I would rather trade that for outright speed in something like the 3.5 liter in that Genesis. They did switch to a lot of haptic controls for climate control, but I don't really mind them because they still make a satisfying click. Yeah, I don't like them quite as much as conventional buttons, but honestly, most of the time we just had the climate control set to something like 73 degrees auto and let it do its job. I know I've been blowing a lot of sunshine at this QX60. It sounds like it's a perfect car, everyone should buy it. Not necessarily the case. We did have our qualms, and we'll kind of see one of those as we get up here on the highway. The other element is it doesn't feel as special as a lot of the other cars in this class, and it is more affordably priced than a lot of those, but along with that comes with a little bit of that kind of, okay, yeah, it's nice, it's pretty in here, but the materials outside of the nice leather steering wheel, the way everything feels and kind of creaks together, and the sound of the door clunk and the operation of everything, it doesn't have that luxury finesse, that kind of ooh, ah, wow factor that a lot of people are looking for when they step up from just what you'd call kind of just a normal mid-size crossover to what we consider a luxury mid-size crossover. Infiniti is still towing that line, kind of similar to Acura, where it's like, yeah, it's technically a luxury car, but what makes this a luxury car and makes a Mazda CX-9 Signature not a luxury car? I mean, they all have pretty similar features and they both feel pretty similar inside, so it's kind of like, But one of the things that did bother us while we were driving this car is the steering assist. Let's get up to highway speed here, get our adaptive cruise control set, which the adaptive cruise itself does work pretty well. Set it for 70. Our main problems with the steering assist function come in its confidence, its ability to not ping pong. So right now we're just in a straight lane and it's weaving back and forth a little bit. It doesn't solidly hold you in between the lane. And now it's lost it, which isn't too surprising because the lines kind of go away. But the other thing is how much pressure you have to put on the steering wheel in order for it to know that you're there. Come on, pick up. There you go. So we found ourselves often just driving on the road, hand on the steering wheel, paying attention like this, and then it's still popping up after about 9 seconds and saying, keep your hand on the wheel. And we're like, our hand is on the wheel. Also, you can see it's slowing us down dramatically right now. Why is it slowing us down so much? Does it think that was a corner? It slowed us from 70 all the way to 49, and now it's speeding us back up. That's strange. Again, does it have highway steering assist? Yes, but compared to the virtually self-driving and quote-unquote autopilot types of systems that you get in a lot of competitors, like BMWs, where you can essentially just let it do its thing and occasionally touch the steering wheel, or same with Genesis, you definitely feel like you're missing out on a useful feature at $60-some thousand in something like this. Overall, Infiniti does get a lot of the bread and butter, the basics right with this car, and a decent amount of the more luxury type aspects as well. I like this open pore wood, I like the quilted leather, but when it comes to the more advanced luxury type features like massaging seats, they don't work super well. The steering assist doesn't work very well. I think that's kind of why we're seeing the Pathfinder, which is the Nissan version of this car, really being quite strong because it's nailing a lot of the basics, whereas something like this QX60 is good, but compared to something you might get from one of the more true luxury brands that, yeah, is going to be more expensive, but it shows that Infiniti's doing a lot of good things and they're moving in the right direction, which I'm happy for, but they've still got a little ways to go in terms of being an outright outstanding luxury car. But I think if you can pick one of these up and sort of the mid trims, the Luxe or something like that, and get it for mid 50s, low 50s, you're going to be pretty darn satisfied and happy with the layout, with the functionality of this car. So thank you all so much for watching. We're going to get this wrapped up before our GoPro quits again. If you do want to see more on the QX60, check the links in the description. We've got our Bose audio test and the highway fuel economy test. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.